She said, "If you're brave enough, stay." And I did, even when I knew I shouldn't. The first time I saw her, she wasn't trying to be noticed. She just was. Sophia moved through the glass halls of our firm like someone who didn't need permission. Confident, composed, married. I was 25, new, uncertain. The kind of guy who double-checked emails before hitting send and apologized when someone else bumped into him. She was older, 13 years to be exact, but you wouldn't know it by looking. She didn't wear age, she wore certainty. Every step, every word was practiced, but never forced. We weren't supposed to cross paths. I was in the marketing department, entry level. She was married to Daniel Crane, a board member whose name meant tension in any meeting. Everyone whispered about his money. No one ever whispered about her. Until she walked into the break room one Tuesday, heels tapping like punctuation, and asked, "You're Ryan, right?" I blinked, unsure if she was talking to me. Yeah. "You're the one who redesigned the pitch deck for Monarch Hotels?" I nodded, trying to steady my voice. Yes, I helped. Her eyes scanned me like she was deciding whether I was worth a second glance. Then, a small smile. Nice work. It actually made Daniel listen for once. And just like that, I existed. After that, it was small things. Casual greetings, a raised eyebrow in meetings, "You're late," if I arrived at the coffee machine, after her. Always public, always brief, yet never meaningless. Then came Friday evening. Most of the office had cleared out. I stayed behind, finishing slides I'd probably redo Monday anyway. That's when I heard her voice behind me. Working hard or hiding out? I turned too fast, nearly knocking over my coffee. Sophia stood at the door, coat in hand, eyes steady. "Relax," she said, walking in like it was her office. "Daniel's meeting ran late. I got bored." I gave a nervous laugh, unsure if she expected conversation or silence. She perched on the edge of my desk, glancing at the screen. "Pitch decks again?" "Client review on Monday." She nodded, then said something that stayed with me longer than it should have. "You're the type that waits for permission, aren't you?" I looked up, startled. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you play it safe. You think too much. You watch people instead of saying what you want. Am I wrong?" She wasn't, but I didn't answer. Sophia leaned in slightly. Not too close, but enough. "There's nothing wrong with being careful," she continued. "But sometimes, careful people miss things. Opportunities." "Like what?" She smiled again, but this time it didn't feel polite. It felt pointed. You ever wonder what it's like to stop asking yourself if it's a good idea and just do it anyway? I swallowed hard. "I guess it depends on what it is." Her eyes held mine. The hum of the office lights was the only sound between us. Then she said, "If you're brave enough, stay." She rose without waiting for my response, walked toward the elevator, and was gone before I could even decide what I meant to do. I sat there, staring at my monitor, her words echoing louder. Then the pitch deck deadline. "Brave enough? Stay." The air felt heavier, the room quieter. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, useless. I didn't know what she meant, not fully, but I knew how it felt. Dangerous, like standing near the edge of a rooftop just to see the view. I told myself it was harmless. A game. A compliment taken. Too seriously. But I didn't leave. Not for another hour. Not until the building was dark and the streets were quiet, and I could convince myself I hadn't stayed for her. And still, I checked my messages 3 times that night. There was nothing. But somehow, the silence was louder than any words she could have sent. I told myself it was just a moment, that people like her flirt out of habit, not intention. But moments. Don't replay in your mind unless they mean something. The following week was quiet. No unexpected visits, no elevator encounters, just her absence stretching across the hours like something unfinished. Then, on Thursday, a message. Sent from a private address. No name. Gallery opening tonight, 7 p.m., 17th and Ellsworth. Dress like you don't work in a cubicle. S. I read it twice. then a third time, then deleted it. I was still at my desk at 6:30, debating whether the silence that followed meant she regretted even sending it. But at 6:58, I was in an Uber, heart pounding, telling myself it was just an art exhibit. The gallery was minimalist, cold, and humming with conversations I didn't understand. Everyone seemed to know what to say and where to stand. I didn't. Until I saw her. Sophia stood in a black dress with sleeves like flowing ink, holding a glass of wine, laughing with someone too preoccupied to realize she wasn't really listening. Her eyes found mine in an instant. No smile, no wave, just a slow walk toward me that made the room disappear. "I wasn't sure you'd come," she said, handing me a second glass she must have prepared in advance. "I wasn't sure either." She tilted her head. "But you did." We didn't look at any art. She didn't ask about work. I didn't ask about Daniel. Instead, she walked me to the back patio where heaters buzzed in the evening chill. We stood in silence. Then she asked, without turning, "Do you always follow the rules?" I didn't know how to answer that. Maybe because I didn't like what the honest answer was. Sophia stepped closer. "Most people your age think confidence is noise. You know what makes you different?" I shook my head. "You listen. You think before you speak. It's rare." She reached up and adjusted my collar like she had every right to. Her fingertips brushed my neck. Not an accident. And just like that, the rules I claimed to follow unraveled. She kissed me. It wasn't impulsive or desperate. It was deliberate, measured, like she'd decided, and that decision was final. When she pulled back, I didn't say anything. I just looked at her. "You think this is a mistake?" she asked. "Yes," I whispered. She smirked. "Then you're smarter than I thought." We left separately. No goodbyes, just the tension of something that didn't end, only paused. The following Monday, she walked past my desk like nothing happened, and that made it worse. I became two people, the quiet worker who stayed late, and the man she kissed under patio lights. By the second week, it was text messages, private lunches, then her hotel suite. It was never frantic, never emotional. She never whispered promises, never pretended it was love. It was something colder, sharper, contained. She chose the times, she ended the calls, she set the limits, and I followed. Not because I didn't know better, but because I didn't want to stop. One night I asked, "What does this mean to you?" She glanced at the ceiling, then back at me. "It means I still feel alive." "And Daniel?" She hesitated, just a breath. "Daniel's a good man, a loyal husband, but he hasn't looked at me in years." I didn't respond, because I knew if I spoke, I'd say something foolish, something like, "I'm not him." And that was dangerous. By the third month, the secrecy weighed heavier. I canceled plans with friends, ignored Zara's texts. She once asked, "Are you okay? You don't seem like yourself." I lied, just tired. Truth was, I was unraveling in silence, addicted to someone who never pretended this would last. Sophia never asked about my life, never wanted to know. That's how she kept it clean. But I wanted more. The last night I saw her, I told her so. "I don't want to be your shadow," I said. She looked at me, genuinely surprised. "You knew what this was? And now I want more than whatever this is." A pause. A long one. Then she stepped close, touched my face, and said, "You'll find someone who wants to be seen. With you in daylight." And she left. No message followed, no closure, just the soft echo of a goodbye never said. No calls, no texts, no carefully chosen meeting times, just silence, as deliberate as every glance she once gave me. At first, I thought it was a test. Sophia liked control, and this was her final move. Let me sweat. Let me wonder. Let me need. But a week passed. Then 2. And eventually, the silence became an answer I didn't want to accept. I heard it first in the office kitchen. Daniel had been promoted. Corporate restructuring, they called it. He and his wife were relocating to London for strategic expansion. No farewell party, no public announcement, just a clean corporate vanishing act. She had planned this. I was sure of it. I kept replaying our last night together, those words, that touch, the way she said I'd find someone who'd be proud to stand beside me. And then she walked away like she hadn't been the one I'd spent months waiting, in shadows for. I didn't feel anger, not at first, just a hollow ache I couldn't explain to anyone. Zara noticed. She always noticed. "You look like you haven't slept in a month," she said one afternoon, handing me a coffee. "I'm fine." She gave me a look, the kind people use when they know you're lying but don't want to make you say it out loud. "Whatever it is, you can't bury it forever," she said. "It'll find its way back to you." I almost told her then. Almost. But what would I say? I fell for a married woman who never promised me anything, and somehow I'm the one left waiting. Instead, I nodded and thanked her, then returned to pretending. But the cracks had formed. I started leaving work early, skipping calls. I deleted our texts, our emails, even the hotel confirmations she once insisted I handle. But the ghosts didn't live on my phone. They lived in my memory, in the pauses between conversations, in the corners of my mind that still waited for her name to appear on my screen. She didn't owe me anything. I knew that. She never said this was love, never even implied it. Still, it felt like abandonment. I wasn't her mistake. I was her escape. And when she no longer needed that escape, she folded it up neatly and walked away. Months passed. I started dating again, half-hearted dinners, safe women who smiled politely and asked normal questions. But none of them made me feel the edge of danger, the thrill of being seen by someone who could unmake you with a glance. One afternoon, I was walking downtown when I saw someone with the same hair, the same posture. My breath caught, but when she turned, it wasn't Sophia. Of course it wasn't. Still, I stood there, frozen, waiting for something I wasn't even sure I wanted anymore. Zara found me on the rooftop of our building a few days later. I hadn't told her I went up there to think. She just knew. "She really did a number on you, huh?" I exhaled slowly. "Yeah." "You don't talk about it, but it's written all over you." There was no point denying it. I thought I could handle it. I thought I was in control. And now? I realize I was just useful, convenient, temporary. She was quiet for a while, then said, "That's the cruelest kind of love, the kind that makes you believe you matter just long enough to leave a scar." I looked out at the skyline. Everything below felt too far away. "She once told me I'd find someone who wanted to be seen with me in daylight," I said. Zara smiled faintly. She was right. I turned to look at her, but she didn't mean herself. She wasn't offering anything, just truth, just presence. And somehow, that mattered more. It wasn't closure. There was no neat ending, no lesson tied in a bow. Just silence, distance, and the long, slow process of forgetting someone who once made the world feel sharper. I never saw Sophia again, but I remembered what she said. "If you're brave enough, stay." And I did. I stayed longer than I should have. Not because I was brave, but because I hadn't yet learned when to walk away